to garbage video part 2. All right, we're looking at free response number 9. It was only one question, worth 4 points. All right. There's only 6, weren't there? Yeah, they switched it. Well, they changed it. I need to read up on it. Whatever. Do good on it. That's all right. That should be what your scatter plot looks like. You need 2 things for part A: the scatter plot, and number 2, say that it looks like it's appropriate because it's a straight line. You could say there's no curvature. You could also talk about no outliers, but the big 2 are having the points plot correctly, and it looks linear. So you can use this for it. Any question on that one? That's an E. Don't forget that's an E. Let's do it. Mark it. All right. Number B. Use the data to construct a least squares regression line to predict output links from dial settings. I think I know how you guys are going to trip up on this one. So I grab my calculator. I love this question because it actually shows up in 2 different units. It shows up, I think, in Unit 3 and in Unit 9. So you hit Stat, Edit, and you plug in your data, and you plug her in. Just make sure you put your X in the X and your Y in the Y. That actually, they warned on this was the number 1 mistake made on it. So, yeah, and they give you the graph to put the points on. Yeah, no, you're not. Your x-axis is always the bottom. Or, okay, yeah, cool talk. Your x-axis is always your explanatory or your L1. So you plug that in, and then you hit Stat, Test. I always go to the test. There's another way to get the regression line, but I use the test because it'll give me a p-value and degrees of freedom and everything else all at once. And once I do this, I'll actually have all my data for this entire thing. Linear regression t-test. All right, so for this one, where you need to, this one you're testing. This one you're testing to see if it's linear or not, so you don't care if it's positive or negative, equal to. Now, if you believe it's a positive regression, which means there's a positive correlation, you do the greater than 0, because that'd be a positive slope. And if you think it's going to be a negative correlation, so if one goes up, the other goes down, you say negative slope, so less than 0.
So for this case, though, like
not 0.
I did the not 0.
Yes.
If you did the greater than, it probably wouldn't matter because it's positive anyway.
You'll get the right answer, but your p-value will be wrong. Yeah, your p-value will be wrong. So L1, L2 are automatic. Nothing. I don't even know what goes there, if you want me to be honest. And again, they said that the alternative hypothesis, you say there is, it's not a regression line or this, but remember B being 0 would mean the slope is 0, and if there's a 0 slope, it means there is no correlation. Okay. What? You don't get, scroll down. You should. Because I'm using A4 Plus. Now, I'm going to let you know right now where the most points are going to be lost on this. So, you're going to have 2.2 plus 1.006 or 07 or 1.01 x. That would not give you the points. Welcome back to my classroom. All right. Whoa, there's my face on my body. That's weird. So make sure if you're doing it, it's y hat, right? Because it's a predicted equals 2.204 plus 1.0. I'm going to do this, x. Now hold on. That's still not full credit. You need to, what are we doing? You need to denote x is the dial setting. Yeah, you need to denote what the variables mean, because that equation means nothing. Predicted output length. I think next year I'm going to teach this a little bit. I'm not going to use x and y ever, because what was also acceptable was you could have written the equation as predicted OL equals, and then plug it in and just use the words instead of the variables, and they would have been full credit. Yeah, that's how I've taught it before, and I've written it before as a reminder, but I think that's all how I'm going to teach it next year. Because this is fine, or this is fine with what those are. Yeah. Or you could put this equation here is the regression line. What thing is this? Well, but I guarantee that this is a highly missed question by y'all for not.
Would you even get like half credit?
Yeah, it'd be a P. It'd be a P. But it'd be sad that you did this part right.
Yeah, the actual work you just did.
Hey, don't forget also, when you're doing your null hypotheses, if you're writing something like this is 0, or like you need to denote what that mean is. Yeah. All right, let's do that. No. Okay. Anytime you're talking about, anytime you are talking about mean's a big one. Like if you're talking about mean, you have to denote that's the mean of this. But like actually for this one, for the hypothesis, so all the conditions are met. For the hypothesis, this one you can actually just put your null hypothesis is your B1 is 0, which would mean that there's no slope, right? No correlation. Should you? Let me read this again. For this one? Yeah. No, because they're assuming that the conditions are met. The null hypothesis, or the hypotheses are as follows. Yep. Or like up here, it could have been the regression line is as follows, ... But you do need that complete sentence. So for this.
So for that one, you can just say the regression line is as follows, and then you can just do the y.
Yes.
Y equals, you don't have to write the other thing.
Oh no, you still need that.
Oh.
You need to denote what those variables mean, because they want to know if you're making that your dial setting, or if you think that's your predicted output value. They need to know that you know which one goes where. If you did mix up your x and y, you did get half credit. No. So the hypotheses are as follows. And your alternative is your slope is not 0, which means you believe there is a correlation. Now, their original solution was the slope of the population regression line relating to output length and dial setting is equal to 0. No, you can just put slope equals 0, and then they're saying does it fit, and you just say not equal 0, because you don't care if it's negative or positive.
So how do you know when to use this?
To do this test, if you are asked, if you are asked to test whether or not there is a linear relationship, it's your way to, because we know how to find linear regression, we've used it, but this is your way to prove that your data fits a linear regression, because you assume it doesn't, and you show that it does. So that's why you start by assuming it doesn't, and then you try to prove that it does.
I mean, in a way, are they assuming that the lines, it's like a straight horizontal line? They're assuming that?
That's what you're assuming.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that would mean it doesn't matter what your x value is, y is going to be the same.
You could also write b1 equals 1, correct? Or
No, b1 equals 1 means that it has a positive regression. That means as you go up 1 for x, y goes up 1 as well. For every 1 x goes up, y goes up 1. If it's 0, for every time x goes up, y does nothing. So there's no correlation. It has to be 0. A slope of 1. All right, so the test statistic is 9.018. Is this statistically significant? Now from here, you actually could still have plugged it in your calculator because you had to anyways and use that p-value. Which, you know what I mean? Because it should match, actually. The t's should match. Oh no, it froze. The t's match, so my p would be 0.0001. Now, if you are on the day of the test and you freak out and you forget how to convert this, you can write 1.04 e to the negative 4. Do they ask for? Yes, you could say the p-value is approximately 0 because what they're asking for. But please, 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 if they ask you here, refer to p somewhere. You know, either give the value or say it's approximately 0 or say it's less than 5.05. But you do.
You say b is less than 0.05. Do you have to say what p is?
Not for this one because it's not asking you. But they do need to see if you're proving or disproving something that p was involved in your decision making. Okay. Now you don't have to. If you didn't remember how to do a linear regression test, you would have done TCDF and do 9.018 to 9999 because it's definitely bigger than. You know what I mean? If you're looking at the curve, you're looking at this, right? Wait, 0 and 1. It's mean and standard deviation, correct? Or if you leave those blank, it defaults to the normal. Let's test and see if it works. But that's how you should do it. That's how I would do it. What?
I did normal CDF because I felt like it was like normalized because of the standard statistic.
Did you get the same thing?
I did get they actually put it like -20, so it's still zero, about 0, but it was
Maybe you'd luck out.
not more 0.
What's your degrees of freedom on this? That's what you need for that one. It's 6. So it's not upper or lower. It was 6. And that's approx.
well, it'd be
It's half of that one.
half of the whatever million
Oh! Here you go. Why do you have to times it by 2? You're doing a 2-tail test. And I was wrong. You'd put a 6 here. You times it by 2 because it's a 2-tail. Yep. T-chart would work as well. Many ways to do it. Honestly, I wouldn't do it any of these ways. If they give you the data, I'm going to plug it in my calculator.
You can do that with the chi-square values too, right?
100%, yeah.
If you were writing what your p-value is, would you have to show work for that too, or no?
No. You could just say, for this one, you could just say the p-value is this, if the t is that, and then, yeah, or just say p is less than 0.05, or the p is approximately 0. Just be careful. Well, you're using that t to obtain p, because you can't make a conclusion about anything with just a t value. Actually, you can, if you realize how many, that's 9 standard deviations away from the center. I wonder if they would take that. They would have to. If you would say that t states that it's about 9 standard deviations away from what you would expect.
That's much more than
And that means this probably didn't happen by chance, and that we can reject the null.
Yeah, you should see if you can take the exams and see if those are good.
You should just take the exam and then write our names on it.
Because I don't think you technically need to be in high school.
Yeah, you do. You can't take them in college. Because then college kids would do that to get out credits.